Welcome to another part, and the final part of Hotwheels World Race. So this part is all about going through and getting all the pickups, as well as defeating all of the times. The best laps, which I've already done, luckily, and the best race times, which is full 3 laps, full time. So, first of all, that max time you see over there, don't even look at it. Don't think it exists. There's no point to it. It is not the best time you have to beat. It is far, far below it. I don't get why the max time even exists. I'm guessing it's to be like a limit. Like, if you get to this point in time, you're disqualified, I guess. Like, you're too slow. But here is essentially what you have to know. The majority of these tracks require you to actually get every collectible in the 3 laps, because they branch off all 3 of these lines. So if you miss 1 ring in 1 line, you have to restart the entire race. And that is literally how this is all going to work. Meanwhile, I'm also going to have to go through as fast as I possibly can with this selected car I now have. It's not the same car we're using. It's not the main character's car. It is another person's car. And we are using it throughout all of these races now. So being in the cups now, I am the World Race Champion. But now comes the important part. The important part about this video. And it is that before I, when I finished recording this and I went and did all this, it was intensely annoying and aggravating to actually get through this. I'm not even bothering to add like a little fade through with this. I'm just skipping straight to it. Now, I've lately had some realizations. And I realized that when it came to this Let's Play, I have been way too harsh. Like, way too harsh. I gave this game no positives. And that's not fair on me. That's honestly not fair on me at all. So, I'm going to list off all the positives I have about this game. The first one is that graphically, this game looks very nice. The entire level design, I don't mean the tracks, like how the tracks are designed, because they're not that good. Trust me, if I keep hitting walls like 50% of the fucking track, they're bad tracks. But I will say that the actual design around these tracks, the actual design of the levels, this level in particular, for instance, of all these, plantations, the blimp up there, like when it showcases the track before you actually begin the race, they all look really imaginative, creative, and good. And that's something that I actually like about this game, that graphically, this is impressive for a PS2 game back then. That graphically, this looks like a good game. Now, of course, this is my lowest point of, a good criticism, because, as you all know, I rate higher on gameplay than graphics. But I will admit that graphically, this game is good. Another thing is the music. I actually find a lot of the music in this game to be pretty alright, honestly. They not only fit with the theming of the tracks themselves, but they are intense enough and, like, energetic enough to get you motivated to drive, get you motivated to race against all these other cars and go through these free laps. And ultimately, I find, like, the cars themselves to be alright as well. I find them to be better than pretty much all the other games that we've played of Hot Wheels so far. Like, when it comes to, like, how they look in all these Hot Wheels games, for this one, it's honestly really nice. The reflections, the very design, and the detail on all these cars, it's a lot more noticeable and nicer looking than it's ever been in any of the Hot Wheels games I've done so far. That includes Beat That. And even though this game does not have the whole damage mark thing that Beat That has, it still looks a lot better. The cars do look a lot better in this game to me than they do in Beat That. And they also showcase a lot more of, like, the speed of a Hot Wheels car, you know? Because in Beat That, it wasn't that fast. But in this one, you can actually see and sort of feel the speed of these cars. Like, you can sort of feel just how fast all of these cars are when you drive them yourself and such. And I will say that going through the tracks, like, as fast as possible, as well as collecting all of the all of the pickups and unlocking these cars and these gallery items, they are rewarding. Like, I do feel some gratifying reward shit for doing this. I don't feel like I'm wasting my time. I feel like I'm actually getting something for doing something optional. And that's another thing that makes this better than Beat That. Which I said before this was worse than Beat That. I was being way too negative back then with that last part. Honestly, this game is not as bad as Beat That. Because, for one thing, there are no reverse tracks. Another thing, I'm not going through, like, the exact same races and the exact same bullshit 3 times like I did with Beat That. Like, at the very least, even though I am going through the exact same tracks of the first league 3 times, I'm going for the exact same tracks of the second league twice, and the third league, if you don't get screwed, you only do those once. There's still a semblance of progression going on with the tracks at least. And not only that, but you're giving ultimately more chances to not only beat the times and get gallery items out of it, but also to collect every single pickup item to unlock every car in the game, you know? There's still a semblance of there being something worth looking forward to with doing this, worth having to do all of this in order to beat the game, or to reset the game, essentially, to unlock all the cars, to get all of the gallery items. Now, the gallery items themselves, when you see them, suck, but the cars themselves, I honestly think that the cars, if you did indeed want to play this just to see the cars, because you like the Hot Wheels cars so much, and you don't actually want to buy the toys because, like, maybe a lot of the cars that you actually want are more collector's items at this point, and they are, like, expensive as fuck, which I don't blame you. I feel like a lot of people who have, like, rather rare Hot Wheels cars, I'll sell them for, like, a stupid amount of money, like $300, something like that, because they're rare. And I understand not wanting to spend that much fucking money in order to get and, like, witness, like, these cars and be able to essentially play around with them in a way. So I understand getting this game because the detailing of the cars, the very look of the cars, is very good. And not only that, it's also sort of in the style of the movie it's based on. which is great. Honestly, the very graphics of this game fit the movie. In some cases, look better than the movie. Now, I would have liked it more had this game actually followed the movie, where we had like a story mode thing going on that would lead into this big final race as Vert to get to the ring. But what we got here was alright, you know? It's a generic racing game, and ultimately, there are some good things to this game. More good things than beat that in Turbo Racing, at least. And in all honesty, I shout on this game for being worse than beat that. Now, to be honest, I did have good reasoning for that. And that was because the very controls of this game were worse than beat that. And I stand by that, because Stunt Track Challenge, even though I love that game as a Hot Wheels game, it's one of my favorites of the series, unfortunately when it comes to racing, it doesn't work. The game's controls worked for stunts, not for racing. So we did the race segments in the game, Stunt Track Challenge, they were always like very minimal in how many races there were compared to stunt like challenges, and they weren't that fun compared to stunt challenges. So when they made these fucking controls into this game, which was only racing, it showcases just how poor the controls are. But the thing is, the controls weren't really poor. Again, they worked for the stunt challenge, which was the main whole point of the Stunt Track Challenge. They actually worked for the main point of the game. The main problem here was using a control scheme that doesn't work for its intention. Like, the intention here is racing, not stunt tracking, like not stunt challenges. And in that case, using this control scheme doesn't work. Now, the thing is, it's not entirely, like, terrible. There is a semblance of it sort of working. There is a way to make this work. But ultimately, you still gotta deal with the fact that the control scheme only worked for one kind of racing game and not this kind. And when you have to worry about collectibles and such, it ultimately goes against the track sometimes. Like right there, during that little turn there, with those rings on the left side, I cannot get to that left side without taking a big smacko on the wall and being slow around that bend. And there are a few moments where, unfortunately, that is going to happen. Where I'm going to have to go slow around those bends and even smack into walls in order to get there. And that's not good. But what I will say is that this control scheme is not terrible for racing. There is a semblance where it can work, like for instance, using tricks to get boost. That's fun. And that ultimately adds a sort of reward scheme, a sort of endurance into you, like fucking I forgot the damn word for the effects you have. It's not endorphins, but it's something along that line, where essentially you feel like you're actually like gain like all sorts of speed, and you're feeling rewarded for essentially like doing all these tricks and going real extreme on the tricks, even like I am here, in order to get a full boost going and landing perfectly in order to get the full boost needed. And you feel rewarded doing this because you feel like you're actually, like, gaining something to keep you fast. And in that regard, like, the reward system of this game is great. You do feel rewarded for going through all of this. And I will give the game that this game does feel rewarding to 100%. Like, it's always nice to be the absolute fastest that you can possibly be in a single track in order to beat records and such, and gain rewarded for that. And collecting every collectible in a race and getting rewarded with a car is nice too. The one problem that I will say about the reward system is that you don't get rewarded a car for when you complete a league. You get rewarded a league, which is great, but you don't get something to go alongside it for that league. All you have is what you have going on with the current cars you got from getting all the collectibles, and also the ones you start off with, like the 4 you start off with. And to me, that is kind of discouraging. But as you saw, I went through the entirety of these competitions, these leagues, as the starter car, Vert's car, the main character's car. And I still won them all. So at the very least, there's that, you know? At the very least, you do have that semblance of you can beat these with even, like, the most middle ground car in the game. The most, like, well-balanced car in the game. But the thing is, there are so many negatives with this game that I can't be too positive on this. All the criticisms I've given you in this Let's Play are very valid with how bad this game is. But I didn't bring any positives into this. That's my main problem with this Let's Play. That I went too negative. And I feel like that is the wrong approach if you're ever going to make a criticism on anything. You should never go one way or the other only. You should never go one extreme. You know, and that's it. You should have some leeway, you know? You should have something where you can perfectly be critical on a game like I did here and hate on it, you know? You can hate the game. But you must have some kind of positives with the game as well. You must be able to look at it and basically analyze that, yes, there are some things it did right. And the thing is, I already knew this. I already knew this when it came to shit like Bubsy 3D. You know, there's a lot of negatives. There's a lot of people hating on it. But I can see the positives. People like Rarez, for instance, have said positives about Bubsy 3D. They can see the positives on the game. Yes, they don't like it. They're negative on it. But they can see things it did right. And to me, that is the semblance of a good review compared to a bad one. Where they don't let the hate, they don't let the negativity be the only forefront. They don't let the positivity be the only forefront. If there are problems with a game, valid problems, then, you know, address them. If there are valid positive things in the game, address them. Don't negate them because you dislike the game that much. If you are ever going to make an argument or a critical analysis on something, you need to have both sides in order to make that work. Or else your entire criticism, your entire argument falls apart. And I honestly believe that when it comes to this game, when it came to this Let's Play, I've gotten so negative in the last 3 parts that I nearly destroyed myself. I nearly destroyed my own argument, my own viewpoint on the game. And in a way, I nearly devalued myself, my own opinions, because I had nothing positive to say. And that's wrong with me. And the thing is, I've seen way too much negativity lately with so many things. As of this commentary, in fact, there has been a sort of leak, I guess, a reveal of the Sonic movie design for Sonic. And there are some valid criticisms. The white hand thing is retarded. And the body shape, you know, it's not, like, compared to the body shape of, you know, every other Sonic model, it's definitely not the same. There are some iffy things. And also, having fur on a hedgehog when it's supposed to be quills, you know, that's a bit iffy as well. But I guess you can say that the quill thing, a bit hard to translate graphically to differentiate with, you know, fur, essentially. And I will say that the body shape, I feel like, in a way, looks more natural than the body shape of, like, Sonic originally, with, like, this round body with, like, lanky legs and such. Like, in a way, I feel like the design of Sonic, body-wise, is not that bad. Honestly, there are some criticisms, valid criticisms, about the design that are bad. But I ultimately think that the very design of the Sonic model for the movie is nothing like we thought it would be. It's honestly a whole lot better than we thought it was actually going to be. We thought it would be ugly as fuck. Too realistic. But in a way, they were able to sort of keep that cartooniness with this sort of Sonic model. And it's honestly not a terrible model. I don't think it's bad. I think that with the right animation, with the right, you know, the right sort of lighting and direction, this model can actually work for the movie. And it can look good. But everyone is acting like it's an abomination and that this movie should not exist because of this model. And I don't find that fair. I find the criticism that the model is just this pile of fucking junk, rip-off, like, mascot, essentially, is the most unfair, disgusting behavior ever. Because, quite frankly, I honestly don't find the design of Sonic in that movie to be as bad as people are making it to be. And this is kind of someone who's a Bubsy fan and doesn't like Sonic. I don't like the Sonic games that much. I really fucking don't. I find Sonic nowadays to be like a complete fucking pile of shit compared to what it used to be. Utilizing memes in order to stay relevant and ultimately being this figurehead for a company that keeps running this character to the fucking ground. Whereas fans are the only thing keeping it alive, like Sonic Mania, for instance. That was made by fans, not Sega. Sega are incompetent now of Sonic. That being said, I honestly don't find what we got here with Sonic, with the movie, to be bad. I don't find it to be something that we have to be so overly negative with. Because even though there are some negatives, very little people are even acknowledging any kind of positive with it. Which there are positives with the model and the design. There are positives around this. And that's something that, in a way, I've ended up forgetting. Also, what? I'm sorry, I had to go what at that. But back to this. Also, I just went from 6th to 1st immediately. Ugh. I swear to God, this game makes it hard sometimes to stay positive when it does shit like that. Anyway, I do need to address that really you have to have a balance of positive and negative, like, opinion, essentially. You have to have some kind of balance on it. Because when you go too far on one side, you are hurting your own criticism, your own opinion. Because by being too negative, you are ultimately, in a way, hurting any kind of creativity or even constructive criticism that you are giving this. And you are ultimately just giving it blind hate in a way. Whereas, if you go the other spectrum and you like it too much and give it no criticism, you're being too nice, you know? You're being too fucking nice to the thing. And ultimately, you are ending up with a position where you are essentially being blind. You're being too positive with this, like, thing, and you're acting like it's perfect. It's not fucking perfect. Nothing's perfect. Nothing will ever be perfect. No matter how much you say this is perfect, it's not. There are things around it that something else can do better. It can be better than what we've given here. It can always be better. It is never perfect. And you should never act like it's already perfect. Because that's a flat out fucking lie. And that's what I've realized. That in the end of all of this, you need a balance if you are to criticize something. You need to have positive and negative in a middle ground. Now, you can stray left or right depending on actually how good or bad it is. But you should never stray too far left or right. Because even the best works can have shitty things to them, and even the worst of things can have something absolutely fucking brilliant. And I'm not really a reviewer. I'm not really a fucking game reviewer or a reviewer of anything, really. And I'm not a critic, really. Even though I am critical, I am not assigned as a critic. I'm assigned as a Let's Player. A YouTuber, essentially. A fucking creator. But I do honestly believe in values that critics do, or at least should, follow through. I do follow through with the same sort of thoughts as a critic, with how to analyze and give opinions on things. And I've been playing games for so fucking long that I am able to analyze and critique these sort of things, especially based on their time period, without, like, much worry. But I have admittedly fucked up now. Because even I am not perfect. No one is perfect at what they do. Not a single person is perfect at what they do. There will always be mistakes. It's only when you realize and try to improve or fix those mistakes that you end up bettering yourself. And I've realized that the way I've acted in this Let's Play was a fatal error in how I should judge things, how I should critique, how I should give opinions. I went too harsh on this game. And I can honestly see why some people like this game. I can kind of see why some people like Beat That. And I can faintly see why, in a nostalgic sense, you could have liked Turbo Racing. In a nowadays stance, I don't see why I would ever enjoy Turbo Racing at all. But back then, as a kid, I can see why you would enjoy Turbo Racing. And really, Turbo Racing, like, started the leeway, like, the sort of, like, control scheme that both Soundtrack Challenge and this game would follow. And in a way, I give Turbo Racing that much for being the beginning of a control scheme for Hot Wheels. And I will say that Soundtrack Challenge did improve on it greatly. But this game did not. It just copied it. It didn't improve on it. And that is another downfall of this game. It could have made this control scheme work for racing. I can see it. But it didn't try. And in all honesty, now that I'm realizing all of this, I feel like a bit of a fuck up for even going negative on this and not really thinking things through. I've acted like a complete another douchebag, is what I'm saying. And I'm sorry. So I want to improve from this. I still want to critique and give negative, you know, sort of opinions when needed. When they are granted and valid. But I do want to be more positive with how I do things. I want to stray away from being too negative. And I want to stay around that middle zone in order to stay level-headed and not be this extremely aggressively angry, depressed fuckhead who is always negative. That's not who I want to be. But I feel like I've been heading in that direction of this channel. And that is just wrong. So, yeah, I want to apologize to the Hotwheels fans and the fans of this game for being so aggressively negative with this game the past 3 parts. And then I hope you can forgive me. I hope you can accept my apology here and what I've said, like my own realization about how negative I have been lately with games. And how I need to focus on positives more. I need to not let the negativity fuel me, essentially. I need to avoid the negativity from being a center point of the entire video, you know? So I said before that, you know, I found this to be worse than Beat That. After really looking through of this, after really thinking through and not just through gameplay only, and really thinking about the big picture of this game is better than Beat That. This is not in between Beat That and Turbo Racing. This is above that. This is better than those 2 games. I can honestly see the developers have done more right with this game than the developers of Beat That and Turbo Racing ever fucking did. And while I will say Turbo Racing did invent some things that would, in a way, be improved on from here on out with such a challenge in this game. And originally they did come from those PC FMV games, the whole stunt thing. I feel like, in a way, just being overly negative of this shit is not gonna work anymore. And that with Turbo Racing, I will applaud it for trying something different for its time, in a way. Trying to take what this PC FMV game took and put it into a more controllable, like, actual 3D game. And then these games coming in and improving from that. And to me, honestly, that's good. It's while I accept a challenge, and after really evaluating more better this game, honestly, World Race is not that bad. There are much worse Hot Wheels games out there than this. I would prefer a majority of the other Hot Wheels games over this, but if you like this game, then I don't see a problem with that anymore. Honestly, all power to you. You can like this. I will say, though, I think I said it before, but that one line there, that ramp right there I went through, that one line of like an arcing rings was off-center. That's the only time those rings are off-center, and that is mean. Because it's one of those tracks where you have to get every ring on these free paths, these free laps, without missing once. So, that's harsh. No, that's not fair. And I feel like that's another negative to get to this game. The fairity of this game, of the fairness of it, is not really there much. This game does not play fair. And I feel that's a bit of a disappointment, honestly. But luckily, there is a quick learning curve that lets you, like, sort of fight against that sort of problem. It lets you be able to work with the fairness of this game and be able to win against it. So in a way, it does give you weapons to essentially fight against an unfair AI rubber banding, an unfair track, and some unfair placements of items. You know, being able to win against an unfair situation that, in essence, is against you. And ultimately, that's my last negative thing. I've already said the guy I'm suck, but the cars are very good rewards for getting these collectibles. And getting collectibles is a lot more challenging than being these times. So really, a lot more risk giving you a lot more reward. To me, that's good. I like that. There's more challenge, but the challenge gives you a greater reward than something that's easier to do. And now that I've gotten every ring, I've unlocked the final 2 gallery items. Which one of them is actually interesting. These other ones all involve... I might as well spoil it right now. They all showcase the cars that we unlock in the game, as well as their racers, which are a part of the movie. I'm gonna go through every single car right now. I'm not gonna name them, but you can have a look yourself. But essentially, the gallery items are just all of these cars and their racers, except for the last one. The last pick is honestly very interesting. And it lets me show off something unique of this game. That all these cars have unlocked are not all of the cars in the game. There are 2 secret cars that we have to use a cheat code for. So, that's cool. And I will show off those cars, by the way, because I do not show off the cars in the team select. We have to actually play for the track to see them. And yeah, that's it for the game, honestly. We've now 100%ed Hot Wheels World Race. And that's awesome. That's another Hot Wheels game done. And here are all the pictures. Now, I will say that giving them this color coding of their logos, like Wave Racers is blue, so you got all these blue versions of the cars, that's cool. And you got like the other team, which have like, what was it, like a purple aura? Yeah, these guys. Like this, these guys have purple cars now, like purplish cars. I find the color scheming to be really cool and interesting. Like purple and green complement each other. The red, not so much. And then you got like the green, majority of them being green cars, in a way. Of course, Twin Mill, everyone's favorite car. So I will say that ultimately, the design of these pictures out is honestly pretty cool. But yeah, the final gallery item is important. All of this is to showcase cars. We've already got a lot you can actually see yourself without needing these pictures at all. These pictures for show. You don't need these pictures to see the cars. You can play them yourself. But it's the final picture that's important. So, you know, going through all of these. Silhouette 2, and then this picture right here. The muscle tone. And now, the cheats. We can undo this by pressing the buttons again, but ultimately we get these two cars. Which is a Smash Mouth car, and I believe this is Tesla's car on the left. So square, 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 triangle, circle, X. In the title screen. And then we can use them over two cars. The Super Tuned and the Slingshot. So yeah, let's check them out. They will be replaced with a thing called cheats. With a nice little effect over them. About to see them very soon. Should be, yeah, there we go. Cheat! And I'll be showing them off in Tesla's area. So here's the Smash Mouth car. It's tacky as fuck, but you know, it's based on their current album at the time, which has the song Hot, which was the main theme of the movie as well as the main theme of the intro for this game. And I'm trying to show as much as I can of the car. And yeah, that is a Smash Mouth car, essentially, based on their current album. And the other car, I think, is Tesla's car. Or it could be the main villain's car. Like the main enemies of the movie. I don't remember that well in the design, but here it is. Now, it looks stupid, but it drives fairly fine. And when it does have its effects going, it does look kind of cool, honestly. It's just, when you look at it from the back, it's very, like, fat and, like, too thin around it. Like, it's just covering up this, like, fucking tacky little car. But yeah, I mean, I don't mind this design too much. But yeah, that is ultimately all the cars of this game. And yeah, that's going to do it for this game. Now it's time to show up the credits, and that's it. That is Hot Wheels World Race. So what do I think of the game? I think it's okay. By the way, multiplayer, same exact thing as single player, so no point showing that off. But yeah, ultimately, I think this game is okay. It did some things right, it did a lot of things wrong, but ultimately, I think it's a hit and miss game. I think if you like the game, great. All power to you. I don't think it's that bad. If you hate the game, I agree with you too. This game has a lot of shitty fucking things to it, especially in the control department. But overall, it's not that bad. And I, again, apologize for reacting so negatively the last 3 parts. It was really uncalled for this game. So what now? Well, the thing is, this game only happened because of a vote thing. I did a poll some time ago where I had you guys vote for what game I should do throughout this year. Like, what 4 games to do. And this was the first. This had the most votes. So obviously, it was going to be the first game I would play. Now, the next game after this is Time Splitters. And I said before that the Time Splitters 1 would not be just Time Splitters 1, but also 2 and 3. I would do all 3 Time Splitters games in an LP marathon, 100% all of them, all of their challenge mode done, and it would be pain. It will be absolute pain. Because even some of the best players of not only Time Splitters, but even GoldenEye or Perfect Dark, which have the same exact gameplay control, struggle with a lot of the gold and platinum requirements from these challenges in the games. So basically, what I'm doing is a speedrunner who never really plays GoldenEye, who is not even anywhere near the same league as the elites, essentially, is trying to, in a way, go into the field that is fairly close to the elite skill. It's gonna suck. It's gonna be painful. But I'll do my best. But as for this game, you know, we're done with it now. It's a short play, not that long. Pretty simple stuff, honestly. Of course, it wasn't that fucking short because, you know, the last part was an hour long, but still. And this was almost an hour long. But I'm not doing Time Splitters yet. The thing is, I already have an LP marathon going on. 2, in fact. Spyro Reignited Trilogy and the Jak and Daxter LP marathon. And the thing is, Jak and Daxter, we're at like a halfway point, really, of that one. But Spyro, we're nearly done with it. So I'll be doing something else for this spot. In fact, it'll be a skating game for this spot. But when it comes to where Time Splitters are going to be ending up with, I will do Time Splitters after Spyro. So look forward to that. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this Let's Play. Thank you all for watching. Thanks for listening to everything I had to say throughout this. And I will see you next time for a skating Let's Play. Thanks for watching. See you then.